Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to those attending and to our viewers watching live in the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. This is a meeting of the Finance and Corporate Services Select Committee. My name is Councillor Wayne Bridges and I'm the acting chairman of this meeting. Details of the business to be considered today are shown on the agenda, copies of which are available in the room and online underneath the broadcast. For those present in the room and intending to speak, please note that you'll be filmed and any statements you make will be recorded and made public. A reminder to councillors, officers and those speaking today that you should turn the microphone button on when speaking. This will ensure you will be heard in the room and by those watching online. We're not expecting a fire alarm this evening, however if one does sound, please follow the officers to the fire exits and out of the building to the designated meeting points. Mobile phones and tablet devices, please place them on silent or switched off. And we go on then to our main agenda, please. Apologies for absence.
No apologies.
Thank you very much. Item 2 is declarations of interest in matters coming before this meeting. Are there any? I can see no indications. Item 3 is the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 1 to 4. Are there any questions or comments? No. Thank you very much. I can confirm that all business this evening will be discussed in Part 1. There are no Part 2 items, which brings us on to Item 5, which is the review of the Council's consultation arrangements, pages 5 to 24. I open it up for discussion. Have we read the reports? Are we happy with it? Are there any comments at all? Any from the Labour side? Councillor Mavis?
Thank you, Chair. I do think that the report does capture the comments of that evening we had when we spent time with the engagement team. The only one suggestion that I would recommend is that the item came from a motion from Council talking about particularly geographical and demographical parity, but the recommendations don't reflect a kind of review of that or evaluation of that ongoing. So my suggestion, and completely just as a kind of open discussion if that's helpful, is that maybe we had a recommendation around kind of an annual evaluation or review across consultations, looking at their kind of effectiveness of achieving geographical demographical parity, so the team can set kind of measurable objectives to continue to improve that journey. So it's something that would be very eternal for the team, but enables them to reflect, review, and then set some objectives in order to continue to strive towards including as many residents as possible.
Thank you. Are there any further comments to that? None from our side. Obviously, as acting chairman, I was not subject to discussions outside of the meeting between the chairman and the Labour leader, or indeed Democratic Services, but I think Councillor Mavis raised a valid point. I'm happy to endorse that. I don't see any objections to that. So perhaps, Anisha, if you could take that outside of the meeting and discuss that further with the chairman, that might be the way forward if the committee's happy with that. Thank you very much. Yes, of course, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. It was just in relation to recommendation 8, which talks about the live broadcast and live chat during broadcasting. Members may wish to consider this because it could be difficult to moderate this during meetings, and it might be better if we explore this offline to see how we can best implement this in practice.
Agreed. Councillor Garg, did you indicate? Sorry. Okay. Apart from that, are we happy to note and endorse the recommendations? Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Garg?
Okay, so just on page 13, at the top of the page, it talks about examples of tailoring consultations, engaging with community leaders. So on the recommendation 6, I would like to suggest maybe that we do that with councillors who know the residents in their area and what might work best, for example. So like, would a focus group work well for a certain consultation, a face-to-face consultation, etc.?
I think with like most committee recommendations, it's always a bit appropriate not to go into too much detail, because of course it will be subject to change by the Cabinet. I mean, we're happy to note it, but I think from my perspective I'm happy with the recommendations as they are set out. In particular with item 6, was it, Councillor Gog? Did you say? Yes. Unless the committee feels differently, I think they're okay as they are. but happy to go with whatever the committee feels appropriate. Councillor Mavers.
If I may, I think it's less of a change of the recommendation 6, which is on page 8, you know, easier interaction with councillors, etc. But maybe something within the notes that when it comes to consultations, if there are different styles and methods that councillors in their wards know have worked better, maybe it's just adapting a line just within the explanation.
Yeah, I think that would be an easier way.
Do
it in the notes rather than the actual recommendation. We could add it in the report. Councillor Riley, would you like to take over? Okay. Are we happy to note that? Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Mavers.
If I may, Chair, we heard a lot from the team about how much they're learning from other boroughs and how much they're learning and working together. And what I don't think has come across, or maybe could be added to the report, is just that the team does do that. It was noted in the actual on the night that they spend a significant amount of time, you know, working with their peers, and whatever the outcome and the results of consultation responses or who's involved, there is an ongoing learning there, and I think that's just to be acknowledged that we have a team that is striving to gain understanding from elsewhere, and I just didn't see that reflected as much, and we wouldn't want to discredit them in any way by not putting that in, because they were very clear that everybody struggles in some areas. We get that. There are some groups that are very hard to engage, but our team are striving. Obviously, we want to resource and encourage them as much as possible, and I just think that was an element of encouragement that we could maybe add in the report to their credit.
I'm happy to endorse that. I think it's a good point made. Councillor Riley, obviously, do you wish to comment?
I'm very happy to be associated with Councillor Bridges and sit opposite his nameplate. Apologies for lateness. I was engaged in another matter to do with my day job. One thing I wanted to put before the committee, though, about this is this came from a motion to council, and I'm not sure I've come across such a thing before. So I was just thinking about how we present this, because it really ought to be presented to council. They having asked for it and voted on it and voted that we have a look at it. I'm not entirely certain what the procedural way around it would be, but on the basis that this committee was asked to look at this subject, putting together some sort of this report and presenting it to council in some format as a response may be the way to go, because of course it was raised there. Members of the public would have heard about it, or it goes to cabinet first, and then if they're happy with it, then it gets raised at council as a response to the motion that was raised. But one way or another, I think we ought to respond as publicly as it was requested. I don't know what everybody else thinks about that.
I just note from the report it's actually referring to cabinet rather than full council, so I think, yes, if we can make it more wider known, I think outside of cabinet it would be beneficial. As you say, it was raised in full council in a very open public forum, and probably deserves further going back to council at a later date if possible.
Well, maybe sorry, through you, Mr. Chairman. Or maybe what we can do, is maybe have a recommendation that, of course, it is going to cabinet because that's the route, but the cabinet may feel that because it was raised in council, that an open response, maybe from myself or possibly. With reference to a paper that's gone to cabinet, and just say and just make it clear that we've done what council asked us to do. We had 2 sessions. A very useful report was prepared, and it should be looked at and seen by all concerned, or something along those lines. Because apart from anything else, the person who raised it will then know that it's been looked at, and this has been the result. Happy with that? Okay. Back to you.
There will also be an opportunity in the annual reports to full council as well to highlight the review. I think that's another opportunity. Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, thank you very much. We move on now to our next item, which is, I'm just trying to find my item on the agenda. I believe it's the work programme, is it? Or forward plan?
Forward plan.
The forward plan. Any comments on the forward plan, please? No? We're happy to note that. And our next item is the work programme. Any questions, Councillor Mavers?
Thank you, Chair. It's very good to me talking a lot this evening. We noted in the minutes that let me just go back, that we were potentially, as a committee, wanting to think about data governance, cybersecurity and risk management. It's more of a question than anything else. I can't see it on the forward plan, but I assume it's something that's in discussion with officers and as a potential. Brilliant. And just another point. If my memory recalls, or our collective memory recalls, we had someone come in to talk about data, not purity, that's not the right word, a while ago. They were talking about how they were transforming how they were going to use data, and it was going to be about kind of a new approach for the council, setting performance indicators. It was a while ago. It may have even been last year. We haven't really had an update on that. I know we had a great digital update last time, but I do believe that data was being cleansed and it was going to help set CPIs for the senior management, etc. It would be useful to hear how far we are down that journey. I suspect some of that is not up in the air, that's not the right way. It's being reconsidered because of the new introduction of the digital director, but it would be useful to see kind of, what success that had and how that's going to continue to drive performance of the council.
Councillor Riley, do you wish to comment?
I think some of that will come within the purview of the digital director that we spoke to last time, and it did occur to me that there was still quite a lot he wanted to tell us, even though we had a very good and detailed session. So it might be an idea perhaps to invite him back to the next session that we have, in particular to cover both the cybersecurity and data issues, and then to continue with his wider brief. He's an incredibly enthusiastic person about this topic and very, very knowledgeable. I think it's a really significant move that's been made, getting him on board. So it may be that we can get him back for another session and deal in particular with those issues.
Any other comments? No? Okay. In which case, that is our business for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. My thanks for your attendance and my thanks to those watching on the broadcast. The meeting is therefore declared closed at 19:43. Thank you very much and good night.